Starting with you, Jackson, do you expect the overcut strategy to pay off, and how much momentum does this give the number 12 team heading into the next stretch of races?
Yeah, I mean, Josh, we were talking about this during the broadcast. It felt like strategy was such a shot in the dark because of one, how much of a variable, or lack thereof, I should say, the alternative red wall tires are, because yes, they do help you, but not necessarily so much because it's such a straight line track. But it's hard to say because willpower definitely made the right choice there in staying out, and arguably Joseph did too. He had Nolan Siegel right in front of him and wanted clean air, and he chose to give up track position to Will, and that was something he never gave back. But yeah, first win for willpower in just over 2 years. Interesting stat for you gentlemen is, more often than not, since this track has been back on the calendar since 2016, a majority of the time, the driver who wins Road America goes on to win the championship. And Will, who's hasn't had wins, but has been sneaky in the top 10 this whole season so far, right? And I think his only DNF, you guys can correct me, I think his only DNF was actually the 500. I think this perfectly sets the table for a championship run, but he said it in his own words, this needs to be more wins this season for this to be something worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think as well, it was the perfect strategy, wasn't it, as well? Because it had
100%.
to be one. We thought for a time, didn't we, in the commentary, that Colton Herta might just have something. We'll get on to him later on in the part of the script about his race today. But Herta was leading in the last few laps, and we all thought if it went perfect, he would take it. Didn't work out that way. But I was really happy to see Will Power win as well. First win since Belial in 2022 at Detroit. That one win he got, that got him his championship as well. And Jackson, you said, we were on about in the commentary, weren't we, together, that when was his last win? And I said, didn't he win in Detroit in 22? And you
last
said,
guy
yes,
to win
he
at
did.
Belial. Yeah, last guy to go in the fountain.
Yeah. I remember it because you jumped in and went for the swim, didn't you, as well, with everyone? Yep. I can remember him going backwards in it all as well, going like a little ducky going in. But but Power was fantastic, and it just had a glimmer of his old today, which I really enjoyed to see. And I think the overcut did work for him, but really surprised about McLaughlin and Newgarden and how close they were racing today. And Power, for a time, seemed like he was stuck at the back, and then jumped ahead with absolute ease. So it was Power sort of returning to the front to lead Penske after for quite a couple of races and arguably quite a couple of seasons as well. It's been Power who's sort of been the third forgotten guy at Penske. And of course,
for
last
34
year,
races specifically.
Yeah. Last year it was the first year he didn't win a race at, and he said to us on the NBC stream at the end of Laguna Seca last year, "I'm angry. I'm really disappointed in myself because he could have won, didn't win, and Laguna Seca was an attempt. And I know you can't wait to get trackside next time you're out at Laguna Seca."
Yeah, for sure. And we know last year was a disappointing year for Power. In his post race interview, he talked about it was basically the off the track stuff is what really distracted him from his racing. I'm sure you guys remember the story about his wife having complications from surgery and then not knowing if she's going to live or not. I'm sure that took a huge toll on him, and so obviously his heart wasn't 100% in racing, and understandably so. So once she got better and got all that behind her, I think Will Power was able to turn a page and finally able to concentrate on racing again. I think that's really paying off this year. And for some reason, it really seems like 2024 is looking eerily similar to that 2022 championship season where Power got the one win. And while he wasn't really flashy like a lot of drivers, he was sneaky consistent, having some really good point stays. And that's what we've seen so far, minus the 500 when he crashed out. And if Will Power keeps this up, I really believe the momentum can really be in his favor as we get deeper into this summer stretch. And John Bender said that you're very happy for Will Power. Yeah, I believe it was a very popular win today. Really nice to see him back at the top step of the podium. And overall, it was a solid day for Team Penske, who ended up sweeping the podium as Power, Newgarden, and McLaughlin finished 1, 2, 3. According to Nathan Brown from the Indy Star Team, Penske's last podium lockout before today was in 2017 at Sonoma when Simon Pagenaud, Newgarden, and Power earned the top 3 spots. Newgarden second place. Finish today was a great recovery drive after a scary 95G crash yesterday in qualifying, and compared to the disappointing day in Detroit, Road America was a flawless performance by the team all around, or as we like to say, Penske perfect. Josh, how impressed were you by the whole team's dominant performance, given how everything turned upside down in Detroit?
After the miseries of Detroit, it was back to being the highs of Indy 500, wasn't it, as well? And it was completely up for them, as we've got some F1 breaking news coming in that we'll get to in our F1 segment coming in as well. That is lighting up my iPad like a Christmas tree. But yeah, the Penskes today were absolutely fantastic, and so right they should have been. They earned their way back to the front after a difficult weekend, and it has been a difficult weekend for them, with Newgarden crashing in qualifying yesterday as well with a heavy hit, a brand new car coming in as well for today, and now having that advantage in the race. It was fantastic, and for Power to win was brilliant, and it was just between those three for the race. Thought for a time it could be Herta. Just absolutely perfect. What a race it was as well. It was fantastic for the Penske. I am very happy with what they've done today.
No, 100%. It was the mentality of put every single bad thing that's happened to us in the past 7 races behind us, and let's adapt and treat this like it is the only race that matters. And I think that's the Penske way, genuinely, because they're tackling all of this with, I don't want to say it's a Chip Ganassi way to be so productive with your strategy, right? But we had a lot of chaos early on, and instantly they were like, okay, clean slate. We're not committing to any plans. We're not going to try and go in like some of the guys like Award or anybody else did. And it was that beautiful mix of perfect strategy timing and raw pace. And of course, these three being able to coexist with each other on track and not getting too argy-bargy, right? So when you put all these together, what you get, guys, is the first Penske 1, 2, 3, the first all Penske podium since Sonoma in 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time. No, that was season finale in 17 as well.
Believe so,
Yeah.
yes. When Newgarden got his first championship.